No, my hot take is that like it's hard to separate this movie from the Wes Anderson legacy. Like it's hard to like know where it
Okay.
like comes, and that legacy is the Paul King movies, and it is all the knockoffs and the parodies, and like it's hard. I have too much other information. Obviously, we're going to get into today's movie, but I did have a couple of like movie things that I wanted to talk to you about before we dove in.
Let's hear
I
it.
saw Wicked for Good, and it is good. It's really good. Um, I also started a top movies of 2025 letterbox list. As you know, and hopefully our listeners will know, I've started ranking all the movies we cover on this on
Yep.
Letterbox. So that's my ranking. It's not mine and Alex's ranking. So if you want to go on Letterboxd, put my I will put my account ID right here, my screen name, because I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's like Mike Cole numbers or
Right,
something like
right,
that.
right.
So, but I'll put it up because I'm doing a list of my top 2025 movies. Every movie that we put on here, I put in based on my rankings, and I
Hmm.
move it up and down. Um, but yeah, so I saw Wicked for Good. It was definitely in my top 10 of the year so far.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I probably only saw like 13 or 14 movies so far that have actually come out in 2020. Well, okay, theater movies. If we're talking about like, I've seen lots of like Netflix, like you may not even heard of it kind of stuff. But so that was the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is I saw a trailer. Actually, I saw a guy on Instagram talking about books about one of his favorite short books was adapted, and I went and like looked it up, and I was like, oh,
hmm.
this looks phenomenal. It's I want to pull it up. It's Joel Edgerton or Edgerton. I don't know how you say his name. And it looked really cool. It looked like it's 100% your and my speed, and I don't know if it's got Oscar contention. It was in theaters for a very short period of time, then it's on Netflix, but I think it's a Netflix original. So, and it
Mm.
is called Train Dreams, and it's
Ah.
based on a novella from Dennis Johnson. I feel like Dennis Johnson wrote something else big that we. No, I don't recognize any of his other shit. Okay, so it's not.
Well, that's going on my
No,
watch list.
I was gonna say I was thinking Dennis Lehane. It just looks. It look. Dennis Lehane is the guy who wrote Manchester by the Sea, and that's who I was thinking. But it's still, if you watch the trailer, the cinematography looks really cool. It's weird because it's from the trailer, it's almost a combination of The Brutalist and Wes Anderson. Like there's like the with the saw, and like there's some cool. There is some stuff that looks like it's inspired by things that you and I have kind of like watched
That we've
together, and
already talked
so
about. Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Clint
so
Bentley directed it.
yeah,
So
and
he did Jockey and Nine Races.
didn't he do something else big last year? Sing Sing. Sing Sing was nominated for a. Did he just write that or did he direct it?
He might have just written
Oh, he
because
wrote
for
it.
direction, it's just Train Dreams, Jockey, Nine
Yeah.
Races, I'll Remember Everything, and Borders Fall to Each. Or
Oh,
Boulders
okay.
Fall to Each.
Yeah. So Sing Sing was nominated last year. Um, he was nominated for an Oscar for screenplay for that. So anyway,
Nice.
it looks good. So I just thought, oh, we don't have to in the little preamble of of every episode, we can talk about anything interesting that comes up like this. I will be watching this soon. Hopefully, it's PG-13, so I might even like try to get Sarah and Logan to watch it with me. But yeah, so
One battle after another is the big one I want to see. Like that is
oh,
absolutely up there for me.
it's amazing. I know that you haven't really seen much in theaters. If you can see it in theaters, see it in theaters. It's on IMAX, and
Oh yeah, I was about to say, is it on
it's
large format?
it's
Yeah.
amazing. It is. That's my number one movie of the year.
Oh, okay.
As of right now, I mean, I don't see anything else coming close because It was like that, and then Sinners, and like I loved Sinners, but one battle after the next is just it's amazing. I think that it is, as of right now, likely to win Best Picture, Best
Oh,
Director.
wow. Okay.
Um, so it's Paul Thomas Anderson. He should have won for no, he lost to No Country for Old Men. He
He
should have
lost it, yeah.
won because he didn't win that. He lost. He There Will Be Blood is what I haven't seen all of his movies, but There Will Be Blood is a masterpiece. So all right, so this week I mentioned Wes Anderson a moment ago. We are going with this week the Royal Tenenbaums.
I, I really think folks that have not seen a Wes Anderson film, he is very likely one of those directors that I show you a scene and you know exactly who did the film. Like
Yeah,
very much like a Stanley Kubrick, very much like an Alfred Hitchcock. Like you're aware of it from the start.
yeah.
And I had never, classic Alex, I had never seen this movie front to back.
Oh,
That's for me, the only one's been Darjeeling Limited.
yeah.
And
I think it's the only one I've seen in theaters was Darjeeling Limited, which
okay,
is spoiler alert, is my favorite Wes Anderson movie.
okay. I really think that for pre-production, like just giving the idea of what a Wes Anderson film is going to be important for the audience.
Yeah,
It's just it is such a specific aesthetic. So as a not filmmaker myself, but much more of a fan and much more of a technical fan, this is lacking for me in the parts that get me excited. Not because it's a bad film, but just the stuff that I look for and know
yeah,
and want to see. It's the land. I think one of the jokes that I sent you was it's the land of the two shot.
right.
You know, and it is so stylistic. I appreciate that part, but for like technical prowess and effects and editing, like it's just good. It it feels like make movie by numbers,
Yeah,
but with good characters and writing, rather than like it is so formulaic. It feels like he's trying to get a perfect grade in his film class. It's like
yeah.
you must have a two shot. They must be centered. You must have a background. There must be something dividing the two characters on the 4-3 plane. You have to absolutely not have any distracting colors that are in the background that take away from the two characters. So yeah.
Okay, so I want to push back on one thing you just said, which is the centered part. In film
Well, okay.
school, you learn almost centering is almost a no-no. And so he is in
Okay.
that way doing something that is the opposite. Like it's sometimes you see centering that's kind of sloppy or
Yeah.
non-deliberate. And so like if
Yeah.
you're going to center something, you center for a reason. Um
Ah,
and
okay.
and with him, he does usually center for a reason. It's usually like focally centered for
Right.
a purpose. But usually, like if you go back to Kubrick for a second, when you think about
Mm.
shots that are centered, there's not too many of them. But when you see them, it's the shot of Alexander Delarge in the milk. I forget what the name of the milk bar is, but the what they call the Kubrick stare, and the camera
Oh yeah.
pans
Yeah.
back out. But he's centered for most of that. Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. But
Him
like,
and his droogs.
right, and you like immediately looking at that, you know why that's centered. Sometimes centering is not as um well done as that, or as deliberate as that. I think that Wes Anderson has made that a stylistic choice that he's done, and he
Hmm.
has done it in such a way that it both subverts and has now created his own expectation. So that's all I wanted to push back on,
Oh.
was the centering. But I want to say, so before we get into like the meat and bones of this movie, I want to talk about my history with Wes Anderson for a second. So I've seen the first half or so of his oeuvre, and I have not seen the second half. I've seen everything. I think I've seen everything up until Moonrise Kingdom.
Okay.
Um, Although I have not seen the Fantastic Mr. Fox or the other animated one he did, but I've seen all the live actions up to Moonrise Kingdom. I've seen nothing since.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
and and so but I've also haven't seen most of them in a long time. I
Same.
saw this when it came out. I probably saw Bottle Rocket and Rushmore the year this came out, like being like, "Oh, this guy's awesome," like or whatever. Like we were all in high school and into that, the year that this came out. So it was probably that case for me. So I have not seen Rushmore or Bottle Rocket in 25 years probably. I haven't. I saw Darjeeling Limited. It's my favorite. I've seen that a few times because I've shown it to people, and I've seen um, Steve Zissou, and so you got to keep in mind that all of my knowledge and memory of Wes Anderson is like 20 years old, and
Yeah.
all my experience is 20 years old, and so going back into this movie,
Well, the Royal Tenenbaums is 24 years old.
yeah,
Like, it's not a new
yeah,
film by any
no,
standards.
but going back into this movie, what I realized is that I don't remember what is already a Wes Anderson ism in this movie and what is new. So and I think when you look at it, so I don't remember Bottle Rocket and Rushmore being nearly as idiosyncratic in these visual stylistic ways. And I could be wrong.
Okay.
Maybe I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I was wrong. But I think that this is where he found a lot of that voice.
No,
But
I'm agreeing with you. Rushmore
yeah,
feels less like a Wes Anderson film
yeah,
than this does. This has
right,
so many of those like establishing
yeah,
criteria for his style,
yeah,
and Rushmore feels more like he wrote a film
hmm,
and he hadn't found his stamp yet.
yeah,
That's more what
right.
Rushmore feels like to me.
Right. And so then you get into this movie and you have a couple things. One is he's now got a little more control, so he's
Yeah.
able to do some like
And the
more
trust of
you
the backers.
yeah. And
Just
so you
just
have
do what he wants.
you have that and then you end up with the fact that it's a success. It's like a very big success, arguably one of his probably one of his top 2 or 3 successes to date, right?
Engrossing, yeah.
Well, and in critical acclaim.
That
He
as
gets his
well.
first Oscar nomination, and so like sometimes, love it or hate it, when someone gets Oscar nominated, whether they're an actor or director, they can fall into patterns. They're like, what do I repeat from that success? Sometimes it
Yeah.
works well, sometimes it doesn't, and so I think that's where you get some of these Wes Andersonisms being created. And there's a big juxtaposition for me when you're watching this movie because you have Gene Hackman, who is an amazing actor, doing acting, and you have everybody else, other than I will say the exception is Angelica Houston. Everybody else basically is acting, and Ben Stiller a little bit.
Ben Stiller a
Everyone
little, yeah.
else is acting in a Wes Anderson movie. What that will mean going forward, everyone else is already in that mode. When they're doing the like dry, I'm not really associated with real human emotions kind of vibe. Bill Murray, like they're all like, yes, actually, I think that you are factually correct, and like like they're doing that like, they're not
Everything is matter of fact.
there, yeah, and there's no emoting that connects with what's going
So,
on.
well, so okay, true. When you have moments like, I really think, as you just mentioned, Gene Hackman, Angelica Houston, and Ben Stiller, they have the most actor in a character
Yeah,
as Royal Tenenbaum, Efleen Tenenbaum, or Chaz Tenenbaum, respectively. But for me, I'm going to align with you entirely. Like everybody else. So Bill Murray, Danny Glover, for that matter, even Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson, they are in a Wes Anderson film as set pieces.
yeah,
That Wes is like playing
yeah,
like marionettes. It's not quite the same as they are
yeah,
actors in a film as themselves. And we talked in our last episode about there are people who play a character and then there are people who are a character. So my classic example of people who play a character is going to be, well, somewhat Owen Wilson, but not really to the same extent as Jim Carrey,
mhm,
who, when Jim Carrey plays a character, he's Jim Carrey as blank.
yeah,
He's not the character, and it seems to have completely encompassed his acting in that film. So For those three, I'm gonna agree. Everybody else, no, they're in a Wes Anderson movie as like
Yeah,
weird little like diorama set pieces.
yeah. Well, which I think is interesting too, because obviously Gene Hackman is not in any other Wes Anderson movies, and there's a whole
Well,
bunch of
I was about to say
drama
there's a
behind the
reason for that. They
scenes.
didn't get along.
But also he was done acting like 3 years after this.
Very true.
But and he kind of already was in that mode of like knowing that he was going to be done acting. Like he took it because he thought it was going to be like a fun, end of my career kind of project.
I mean, it
Like,
was for him. It was
yeah,
a fun end of career project, and a lot of folks.
but he didn't have fun doing it. That's what I
No,
mean. Like he thought he would have fun on,
he
but
I think he thought he was gonna. I'm not trying to be rude. Hang out with his Hollywood friends on
yeah,
a movie set and have it be like you and I at the office when we would jabber for like an hour.
yeah,
That's not what this was for him.
right. And so you have him, and he's never been in another one. I don't think that Ben Stiller's been in another one,
I don't think so.
unless it was like a real small role. I'm looking it up right now, but I don't think so. And that's probably, he works with Owen Wilson a lot, and so I'm sure he's comfortable in there, but like maybe he just didn't like necessarily fit the aesthetic completely. But and then Angelica Houston has been in a couple. She's done a bit more with it, but like I think that
I think
you're
there's
right.
only three. There's only three
Yeah,
people who have only been in a movie with Wes or a Wes movie one time. Gene, one of them.
yeah, and I think Danny Glover, but I like I
No,
but I just think that stands out. I also so here's the other thing. So I don't remember a lot of those Wesisms or Andersonisms from before this.
no,
Like I said,
I agree with you.
but I also think going to Steve Zissou, from what I remember, it was like almost overwhelming how much it was. Like they took some of that, and I have to go back and rewatch it because I have literally not seen that one since it first came out.
Yeah,
The Darjeeling Limited, I think, has arguably the least of these Wes Andersonisms, but it's shot in such a
it's
weird
so pretty.
context,
Oh God, it's
right?
so pretty.
So, like, well, some of the things that we go forward that I think started with Steve Zissou, not Royal Tenenbaums, is these like backdrops that are very clearly fake. So you have
Yeah,
like this is nothing in this is like, oh, you're actually shooting in on location. Um,
yeah.
and then with Steve Zissou, you get like, well, I can't control the location enough, so we're gonna have like cardboard cutouts almost like it's almost like that, and we'll shoot in front of those, and that is the case with a lot of them from what I've seen. But Darjeeling Limited, because you're on a
Less so.
train, it seems like it's shot on location, or at least it's maybe it's not really India, but it's somewhere where you're actually shooting on a train. You're actually out on the real world, and you've got such a confined space that it might have been much more difficult without the sets to do
Yeah.
those like Wes Andersonisms of follow and
So
and,
and
and they
you
work better. They work in some ways more naturalistically in a train, I think, too, which is
no,
part of it.
totally agree. In what I was saying earlier is that like they're pieces in a diorama. One of the pre-production pieces that I wanted to learn about before watching this film critically was like what pieces of his past or what situations in his early career brought him to shoot in this way. And very much like making a diorama, like putting people in a scene like they're dolls in a dollhouse,
Yeah,
like that, like you said, with the cardboard backdrops that aren't trying to look convincing. Like they
right.
look like we are, and I put this in the notes. Sometimes I feel like a creepy neighbor snooping on these people because there's no way that this would be a natural conversation that two people would have if they knew there was a third person in the room listening.
Yeah,
Like and the other piece that's more production is just everybody in a Wes Anderson movie is reading lines.
right.
They are reading lines with as little emotion as possible, but that is more about how Wes writes his characters and less about it's just like such a Wes Anderson trope that you can't get away from
So,
it.
are you familiar with the dogma or dogme, I don't know how you pronounce it, style of filming. It's a Danish thing.
I am not. Enlighten me.
So I can't find anything that says that he was inspired by this, but I think that when you look at it, it's like, oh, there is definitely a touch of it. Dogma style is stripping away like almost all the artificial, like all the artifice of sets and all of
Shooting on
that.
location. Yeah, I'm seeing it here.
Right.
Shooting on location.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's almost like filming a play, but in a weird way. So there's a movie with Nicole Kidman, which I want to say I could find it real quick. It was it Lars. I think it's Lars von Trier. Trier, and this is like really the only thing that I'm familiar with from this style is what was the name of that fucking movie? Sorry, I'm looking it up. Dogville. I think it was Dog. I'm pretty sure it was Dogville. If you watch, maybe I'm wrong about this because the poster doesn't look like this at all. Nope, it's not. I'm not thinking of the right movie. There's this movie that I can think that I'm thinking of, and I thought it was Nicole Kidman. I thought it was this Dogville movie where they're in this big, what almost like a warehouse, like studio, and on the floor is the like white outline, like a blueprint would have for a house, and it's like dining room, and so they'll move to the dining room, but there is no table. It's
so they're blocking to basically tape marks on the floor.
yes,
And then we're
but
in the dining room now because they're standing in something labeled dining room, but there's
right.
no set to give you that impression. Oh, that sounds freaking cool, dude. I want to see this now.
Yes, it is Dogville. I was okay.
Holy, look at that. Okay, and it is Nicole Kidman. There you go.
Yeah. I was the right movie before. Okay, they have more props than I remembered because I didn't see the movie. I just saw I remember seeing something for it and being like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
But it is, so obviously Wes Anderson has a lot of artifice in his movies, but it's not meant to be believable. Like there are, there's times in movies where, like I recently watched the thing about the making of The Godfather, and they were showing different sets, and I'm like, I didn't even realize it was shot at all on sets. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They convinced us, but this is the opposite. Where and Wes Anderson's in that like weird middle space where it's like, no, you're not supposed to believe that Steve Zissou's actually on
a submarine
out in sea. And like obviously there's a willing suspension of disbelief for a lot of us where it's like, yeah, I know that like Life of Pi, he's in a soundstage, but it looks real, so I believe it. This is he's not quite Dogville level, right? But he's not at all on this other level, and people have accepted Wes Anderson's style in a way that is interesting because I feel like it's weird enough and it's idiosyncratic enough that a lot of times like the average movie going audience would not connect with it in a way that they have connected with that style the way they have connected with Wes Anderson.
Yeah. And I think when we were filming our last episode, when I was in Chicago, where I probably got whatever I have now, I really believe that Wes Anderson is one of those film nerd directors that much like Taylor Swift fans or Godfather fans, like if you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you. Yeah. If you don't like this record, all of the records are the best that's ever been made. Like Wes has a style that he has completely fabricated somewhat, or at least personalized enough that, again, I show you this, you're like, oh yeah, that's a Wes Anderson film. I don't even necessarily know the title, but if I see Luke or Owen Wilson, I'm like, oh, and
it's a good chance. Yeah.
Right. If I see Luke or Owen Wilson, bright colors, actors not talking, or an obnoxious, like static shot, and obnoxious in the way that like it we've talked about, if I can guess the line, I'm bored. I was never guessing lines while watching this. I was guessing how a scene would be framed, which was an interesting thing to actually notice. Was me thinking, yeah, you know what? I bet you they're going to go up those stairs and they're just going to like this, and I was like, oh, yep, there it is. So yeah, for pre-production, you know it. The fans love it. I am not going to laud, but I'm also not going to crucify this dude. He knows what he's doing and he knows how to do it well.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's his style. He better be good at his style, otherwise we're gonna have a big issue.
Well, I mean, Tarantino, I think, is very good at taking other people's things and making them better. So there are times.
Yeah. No, I'll align with that.
I'm adding Dogville to our list. And I think that we should do like a big swings month where it's just like something wild, like anyway. Like where every movie is like, oh, this is like weird and wild, and The plot of this movie is Royal Tenenbaum. That is not only the title of the movie, but it is the character Gene Hackman plays. Is estranged from his 3 kids and his ex-wife, because they're not officially divorced.
Right.
And he wants to get them back in his life. We don't actually find out entirely why. But he fakes that he's dying. And he tells them that he's dying to kind of get them to take him back into their life.
He fakes a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
And takes Tic Tacs.
And it's about him kind of going from being a really selfish bastard to being a better bastard.
Selfish bastard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, even by the end, I think, like, you're like, okay, he is genuinely cares about his family.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that, I don't know if there's any redeeming that for what all the dumb things that he's done in his life, but there's at least a little bit of like, at least he's done some work to show that he's genuinely trying, and it's not just like
the audience at the end of the film when Royal says this is like the best month or whatever it was of my life, like the audience, I connected a bit, and I thought, I don't have sympathy for you, but I can appreciate that you felt something.
Yeah.
So those situations when you saw Royal connect with his grandkids, or sort of connect with Richie or Eli, there were moments when I would think, I mean, I still don't like you because you're just a deadbeat, but I can think a little, okay, you did this in earnest. Yeah. You faked cancer in earnest.
Yeah. I agree. So first of all, I think that Gene Hackman's the best part of the movie. For me, 100%. So like, yeah, his character is a shit. I think she even says at one point, "You're a real shit" or something to it. Like, Angelica Houston says that, but he's the most interesting character. I think he's got the best performance. Like, there's some moments where you're genuinely like, oh yeah, that's exactly how you would react. Like when he's like, oh, or there's a couple times where he just like has a reaction that, and again, I didn't know going into it, like, I'm very used to you get used to the stereotype and you forget like the things that were good, like about the director in this case. And so
I really think for me, Gene Hackman's character, again, he was probably the most interesting part for me. The scenes where I recognize that is when he goes in the closet. When he goes in that hallway closet is almost the most human and least Wes Anderson-y that it was, because that's when specifically him and Chaz, or him and Pagoda, have like genuine what feel more genuine interactions
Yeah.
rather than I am reading lines. I'm going to deliver them either to this camera or to this actor. This is what I'm going to do. When they call scene, I'm actually going to act like myself.
Yeah.
The closet is one of those places where it felt the least.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I liked that. I liked his character a lot. I liked Luke Wilson and Gwyneth Paltrow's story together. I found their performances to be
Misha.
when they were together, they're okay. When they're not together, I'm like, this doesn't work for me for whatever reason entirely. Yeah. It felt like, like I get it. There's like a stoicism of like they're both trying to act on feelings that they don't think that anyone will accept. So like that stoic
or they don't understand
that,
themselves.
Sure, yeah. Because they're for the audience, if you haven't seen the movie, she's adopted, but they're brother and sister. So because they're not blood, but they are in love with each other. I also thought, okay, this is just a weird thing, but I thought Owen Wilson was going to turn out to be like their brother that for whatever reason Royal and the wife decided to just like not, or maybe Royal had a girlfriend on the side or something because first of all, I mean he's Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson look too similar, but also he's in the picture the whole time. He's like in there with them, and I was like, oh, like this is him keeping his like mistress's kid, with his mistress on the like in the picture without like
I could see that
kind of shit happens, like, and so I thought that was gonna be the story there. And so that was, I mean, that's just me reading into it. That's headcanon. It's not like something I would blame them for. I don't think that they did much to lead that way. I do like that at one point Owen Wilson says, I always wanted to be part of your family. And I was like, okay, that is what they were going for. And that shows in hindsight. It's kind of like once you have the big reveal of a murder mystery and you're like, oh yeah, they did drop the clues. That it was the same thing. Like I think going back, I'd be like, yeah, that makes as much sense as what I was thinking.
He's Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
He's just there the whole time and everybody noticed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also he is the most unlike the Tannenbaum children. So he's a self-absorbed, completely not self-absorbed like what's the word I'm thinking of? Not self-absorbed in a selfish way, but just self-absorbed because he's not smart kind of way. And he becomes an author that makes an entire just makes an entire alternate universe where Custer didn't die at Little Bighorn and he's on mescaline and shit. Like it is so polar opposite from Chaz, Margot, and Richie.
Okay. So I want to get to what you just said in a second, but I want to like pry apart one thing you said, which is he is not smart, but he becomes a literary, like he's not like, this isn't like a Dean Koontz. This is like a literary figure. And that is really interesting because either they wrote the character badly and that wasn't what they were intending to do, or do you think it's like some kind of joking meta commentary on what Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson and Wes Anderson are like childhood best friends? Owen Wilson does not typically play smart guys. He doesn't play dumb guys all the time. But then he wrote this movie with Wes Anderson, and he got his career writing and working with Wes Anderson in these things that are considered highbrow. And do you think that that's some kind of meta commentary there? Because I don't think Owen Wilson's
I'll put you
dumb,
in my film, but you always have got to be a bit of a dope.
Yeah, but he wrote it too. Like, so I wonder if Owen Wilson
like he wrote himself as a dope on purpose. Like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be in here.
Yeah,
and just
I mean, I did find his character super duper amusing.
Yeah,
like when they're sitting there and he's like, "Oh, I just did a bunch of mescaline or whatever."
You're on mescaline? Yeah.
I mean,
Then he's
so
breaking up the drugs with all the dudes that he sells with, and they're just all in the room with him.
yeah,
He's wearing a
but
cowboy hat and a fringed like vest,
I
and they're all
I
wearing
also
suits.
I also loved that when you see him, the flashbacks to him and Margot before he was famous, he's not in the cowboy getup, and so
No,
it's like
that was
this is
after
part
his
of the
book.
this is part of the literary character that he is trying to present, which mine will be coming out soon. My literary character, since I've written my first book.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
know. I'm thinking sweaters. I'm thinking sweaters with patches on the elbows.
Ah, the old man
Yeah.
sweater. Yeah, my wife likes
Uh,
those.
yeah. So no, but I think that like he's crafted this character, and I think you're right. Like I think that if you look at the scene of him before when he's it's Owen Wilson, it's not the kid that plays him. Sorry. You look at the character when he's on the train on the subway with Margot, and
Yeah.
he's dressed in like a suit and tie, but it's like it's almost like first job suit and tie where you look like real young and like I'm gonna
Hmm.
get a promotion in the first 6 months, and you're like this is
Or
gonna
it's
be
your dad's suit.
it's
Or
that
like it
naive
doesn't fit
yeah
right. Yeah, yeah.
there's a naivete look to it there, and then
Yep.
we see him transformed into this like cowboy, which is
Caricature.
yeah, and like he doesn't like fully have a Texas accent, even though they're all Texans.
No.
And they're supposed, but in the movie they're supposed to be growing up in New York, but he doesn't have that accent. But it like
No.
works. Like at first you just think like, oh, like until they show the flashbacks where you're like, oh, he grew up in New York. You're like, oh, like maybe he's a, playing a Texan because he's a Texan,
Yeah,
and it works. And then you're like, oh no, and he's a weird combination of like
he is.
literary fool and like yeah. So I thought he's probably my second favorite after Royal is
After Royal,
Eli.
yeah.
I didn't really I like of the three siblings, Luke Wilson's character is the most likable,
Yeah.
and more relatable to me. I think that Chaz, I understand what he's going through. Chaz is Ben Stiller. Chaz is. It's also funny that because Ben Stiller is so clearly, visibly Jewish, and they've
Yeah.
cast kids who are like identically Jewish to him, and then
Yes.
then Gene Hackman has a line where he goes, "I'm actually a third Jewish," because one of
I know.
his
I
three
remember
kids is Jewish, and I was like, "That's weird and funny." Like,
that.
but like I understood that character and what he was going through in a lot of ways, but I didn't find him likable at all. And like I don't
I
think he's
don't think
supposed to be,
you I
but
don't think you're right. I was about to say I don't think you're supposed to because he pushes back on his dad being in the house so
yeah,
bad, but
yeah,
he's also there. And
yeah.
he also like what's wrong? Oh, the smoke alarms don't work. Well, there's not smoke alarms here either, Chaz.
He's almost
You
the
know.
opposite end of his dad in the
Yes.
more directly than the other two because he is so worried about his family from the beginning that he's like, no, we can't. We have to be with the rest of the family because we could burn to
Um
death in that building. We had like we're gonna move in with grandma because because of
yeah.
and like we lost and I think he's going through a lot. Obviously, in the movie he's supposed to have lost his wife,
Not his dog.
and not his dog.
The dog was found in the crate
Yeah.
near the
Oh
crash
yeah.
site.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Gwyneth Paltrow is decent in this. She is she like
it
is like on
it's
lithium the whole
difficult.
time. So
Yeah, I was about to say it's difficult to watch people who I know can act
yeah.
not act. But I
Yeah.
understand in the frame of a Wes Anderson film, that is how they are written. They
Right.
are written like these deadpan adults that cannot deal with emotion, that are
Yeah.
set pieces in a diorama, and you're experiencing their family therapy sessions without a therapist present. Like you're the fly on the wall therapist while they're just jawing about the most just mundane shit, right?
Yes.
And I know Gwyneth can act, and it was a little difficult to see her just there with the heaviest eyeliner I think I've ever seen her wear. Just kind of, I really like,
Right.
yeah, but so I'm with you. Gene's the best. Gene Hackman playing Royal is probably the best.
I actually
And
I think that the character that I think not the character that I think I like the best,
Chaz.
like the character that I would
Oh,
want
I was
to.
going to say the one you're the most alike. I'm like Chaz.
No,
Chaz.
no, no.
Chaz.
Okay, that's probably true. That's
I
probably
know
true,
it's true.
but I don't love that you said that, but it's probably true.
Oh,
Uh,
stop. It's
but
okay.
no, the character that I like the best, that not the character that's my favorite character, but the character that I think is like the sweetest, kindest person
Yeah.
is the mom, which is also interesting,
Oh,
because
yeah.
she's so like she has a little bit of that detachment that they all have, that like waspy detachment, but she is
Yes.
caring, and she
She's the most
even with
compassionate of any
Royal,
of them. Yeah.
even with Royal, she's like, and Royal, she has the most right. He's not only like lying and everything else, he's also calling her boyfriend slash fiance like racial,
Oh,
not full
God. Yeah.
slurs, but racial epithets or whatever. Like he's being racist towards her, her new guy.
Who's really good at
And
falling into holes.
yeah,
So I think that Angelica Houston playing Ephline Tenenbaum has the most compassion, and I saw that when Royal talks to her outside the house,
yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm dying, I'm dying," and then when it turns out that he's not dying that bad or that quickly or that severely, like the way she actually gets angry at him, like she had real emotion. And that was one of the two times in this film that I saw there was punchy emotion that stuck in my head. It
yeah,
was Royal talking to Ephline and Royal talking to Chaz in the closet.
yeah.
No, you should get out.
Okay,
I think you're having a mental breakdown. Like it was
yeah.
so intense in comparison to
I
everything else.
I agree with you, but I want to add a third one that I think really scene that really works. It's not as intense emotionally, but it does have real like emotional
Gravity.
stakes and like gravity. Is when he's what's Luke Wilson's character's name again?
It's Eli Cash. Oh no, Luke is
No,
Richie.
no, Richie. When Richie and Royal are on the roof at towards the end, he's been kicked out. He's become an elevator operator, and
Hmm.
Richie goes to see him after the hospital. Or was it? I think it was after the hospital, not before the hospital.
After
And
they're kicked out of the hospital before he's in the house. Yeah.
and he goes, and he says, "I'm in love with Margot," and he goes, "Margot Tenenbaum," and
I'll
like,
go tell you
and
right.
then he's like, "Go for it," and he's like, "You're not related, like, you're not blood related," and like that moment, I was like, okay, this is where he's redeemable, like
Okay.
the other moments, there
He
are other
wants
moments where
someone
you're like
else to feel pleasure, you mean? Like
right,
is
but
that what
also
makes him
like
redeemable?
I also feel like there is an air to him of caring about how they look as a family to some extent, even though he's been a shit and he's left, and there is just something about him that it's there's some status thing about him.
I
And
was about to ask, appearance to others, or he's concerned he doesn't look like a good father. Which do you mean?
I just think I think it's a status thing. I think it's kind of like I
He
want, and
wants
so
others to see
appearance.
him as a good family. Okay.
Right, right. And so I
I'm with
think,
that.
and this is a scene where it's like, well, this is where you can be a good father and not necessarily look like a good father. This is, where this is where those two things come into conflict,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like telling your son to go for it with your daughter is something where it's like, okay, given all the context we've seen, it's the right move. It
Yeah.
is the move that will come with the most judgment and scorn from outsiders, and he does it
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
And at no other point, he's willing to get judgment and scorn from his family, but we don't see like he just comes across, he's the guy who wants to live in the fancy hotel, and he's racked up all these charges, and
Yeah.
there's like this status thing about him, even if he doesn't outright say it in the movie at all, that he is definitely trying to project the whole time. And part is his refusal to get a job for a while, and
Yeah.
then he gets
Well,
he gets an elevator job, which is even in, this is, I think it's supposed to be
with
relatively
Pagoda.
modern, so like that's a job that's on its way out. He is a 70-year-old man, or 69-year-old man, I think they said in the thing, so he's
Mm,
like at retirement age. He's willing to just do what it takes finally. And then
yeah.
when his son comes to him, and his son's like, is this one son who's kind of had his back the whole time, is like, I love my sister, and he's like, go for it.
Go
And
for
I
it. You're
think
not blood.
that's
Yeah.
that's the moment where you see like, oh, okay, he is 100% in, because if he wasn't, if it was still about like getting that perfect family picture or whatever, like then he wouldn't be like, yeah, go port your sister, like, you know.
Well, yeah, and there's enough belief that it's like he doesn't care that they'll be seen as weird or bad or outsiders
Right.
because he's like, no, it's your sister, whatever. Everyone's gonna think it's weird, but so what? I
Yeah.
I can align with that. And the reason that he's even in the hotel in the first place is because his own son got him disbarred.
Right.
So Chaz, Ben's character, got his dad disbarred because I believe that his dislike for his father started way back,
Yeah.
way back. Like he always saw him as lazy, do up your bootstraps kind of person.
All right. So what do we think this movie got right, and what could be improved? So,
Ooh, okay, go.
okay, one thing that I think, so it's hard for me because we have to take we have to take this movie out of the context of the 30 years of Wes Anderson that we've had now, right? And that's
Yeah,
hard to do. And that's
it
not a
is.
fault of this movie, especially since this movie's really the beginning. But it's hard to do. And so, like, some of the things that I would say could be improved, I don't know that I would be saying that in 2001, because I
Okay.
would, and so like I think that like at the beginning of the movie, the first 20 minutes or so of the movie, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. It feels so gimmicky. And then I
Yeah.
realized it catches it picks up steam, and it really works. Like I really liked it by the end. But the beginning, Sarah and I were both like, this is really cheesy, like weird. And that's because we now have had 25 years of movies since then where some of them have, not only some of his stuff has gotten a little more into that like rabbit hole, but also there's been parodies. And
Yeah.
I can remember parodies on SNL, and there was a what if Wes Anderson directed the X-Men, and there's so many people have pointed out the things that you're like hyper aware of them. That wasn't the case in 2001, so I'm trying not to weigh that against it. And ultimately, it won me over despite that, right? Um, so that was my one thing, is that like it is difficult to remove it from its place in his
Yeah.
body of work.
So for and I mentioned earlier in this episode about this is one of those things where film fans are going to crucify you if you don't like Wes Anderson films, right? Or you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
get it. And watching this, I agree. First couple scenes, I was like, "Yep, okay, static estab, yep, okay, yep." There's the color, yep. They're all just reading line, like so many of these things, like you mentioned. Now that we have this body of work, it's oh, duh, this is a Wes Anderson film. But if you consider that when this was made, the only things that existed were Bottle Rocket and Rushmore, films
yeah,
that don't have as much of these uh, uh, Andersonisms in them
yeah,
already, and they're more casual's not the right word. They're more stylistically washed.
yeah,
Whereas everything from Royal Tenenbaums, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, definitely Darjeeling Limited. There are so many times where you know that this has the indelible stain of Wes Anderson on it, and you appreciate it for that. But just like when I was younger and would watch high fashion on the television, I would be able to look at something and say, okay, that is so high fashion, I don't get it. But I
yeah,
can appreciate it because I don't get it, because this is elevated to such a standard I don't understand it. And my
yeah.
early days in kitchens and my early days in beverage, working beverage programs and cocktail menus, like there are so many times where I would see something on a menu, I'm like, this is such pretentious shit. But then I see it on the screen in a Wes Anderson
Yeah.
film, and I'm thinking, you're right. If this wasn't now and it was 2002 that I'm watching this, even a year after it came out,
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not as critical of how it looks or how it's shot
Right.
because
So here's another thing that I think we need to consider, that from a 2025 perspective, and part of why I wanted to do this podcast is that we have with, I think Quentin Tarantino talks about it a lot, but like you have, if you go back before the streaming services, if you got a movie if you went to the movies, I mean, I've walked out on one movie my entire life, and it was because my
Me too.
girlfriend wanted me to. So I
Uh,
don't walk out on movies. So I've walked out on one movie in my life, right? And when you were renting from Blockbuster, that was your movie. That, whether it
yeah,
was good or bad, that was your
you're
movie.
not
And
spoiled for choice. You're
right,
going to focus more on what's in front of you.
right. And so because of that, up until Netflix, if you started a movie,
You
you
finished it.
probably finished watching the movie.
Yes,
And so you could
100%.
have a beginning, like if I had seen this movie in theaters 20 years ago or on Blockbuster, which I'm sure is what happened, I might have been bored the same way, or been like the same way that I was,
Yeah.
but it would have won me over. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah.
make this movie today, and you make this movie today
Someone's
without
clicking
Wes
off.
Anderson, someone's clicking off, and that's like a difference in
100%.
style that, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of movies where you're not gonna see a good movie because you're gonna judge it, and I know I've done it. I did it with, it's not a movie, it's a show, but you've seen Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek, yeah.
The first 3 minutes of that show, of the pilot of that show, I hated, and I watched it like 3 or 4 times because people told me it was great, and I'm like, I can't get past that. That opening scene is so annoying. And
Yeah.
then someone's like, just watch the first full episode, and I'm like, it's 30 minutes. Make yourself watch it. Put your phone somewhere else. Make yourself watch
Yep.
it. And then I watched that show, like binged that show because I loved it. There's been so many times where that is a case. I think that is, if Wes Anderson was a brand new filmmaker and this movie came out shot
Oh,
for
dead in
shot
the water.
today, it would not have the same reception. If it made it to theaters, I don't know that people walk out of theaters as much as they will switch from Netflix movies. But if this was like released during the age of streaming for streaming, I don't think it gets what it is.
No,
And
and
that's a
like
testament to that's a testament to our short attention spans
I
and
was
our
I was just
yeah.
yes. I was just about to hit on that. The editing and the technical pieces of a film, Wes Anderson stylistically strips so much of that technical out. It's just people talking. It's people
Right.
delivering lines. It's soft focus. It's bold colors. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of shocking sound, but the sound's
Yeah.
purposeful.
Yeah.
So oh, by the way, the music in this film is fantastic.
It's that
It's
just so you know,
good. It's good.
yeah. Just that mentality of knowing that that's how we watch movies now is why I like to watch movies in theaters so much.
Agreed.
Not so much. I mean, I know I like to go see like Marvel movies, but like why I went and wanted to see The Brutalist with you, because if I had seen The Brutalist at home, I'd have been on my phone 3 times. But
Yep.
for whatever reason,
Agreed.
in the theaters, unless I'm waiting for an emergency phone call, I am never checking my phone
No.
in the theaters. I am focused. And
Yes.
in a way, and I think that's that's why I wanted to do this podcast too, was because I'm not going to get to see Rosemary's Baby in theaters or The
Yeah.
Exorcist in theaters, so I need to force myself. And I still, sometimes I'm pulling up IMDb during these movies while we're watching, but I'm so much
Yeah.
more focused than if we were watching, just watching for the fun of it, like, throwing something on as a family. But I
Well,
am
and you
like,
have you have a family I don't. So when we watch something, it's either literally my wife watches it on her own
wait,
or we
who is
watch
it?
it together. My wife. We watch it together on purpose, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for example, we're going through Stranger Things right now because the new episodes drop this week, I think. So
I think it
for
dropped yesterday,
us,
didn't it?
oh, maybe it was yesterday.
Or
So
maybe it was
for
tomorrow.
us, I swear it's Wednesday. Um,
Okay.
so for me, I really think that when you're not captivated the same way and you are spoiled for choice and you can just become distracted, his method of filmmaking is such sounds so colloquial, a vibe that you need to completely immerse yourself in what's going on. The same way that bright, like you said, an X-Men film or a sci-fi film, like one of my favorite genres, where there's so much bright, loud, intense things going on. This is devoid of all that. And
Yeah.
and like even films we've watched in this podcast, a lot of them are more bubbly, action filled, more going on, so on. This was just static shots,
Yeah.
follows, read, do the thing, all the stuff that you see when comedy will make fun of Wes Anderson. And what I do enjoy, and this is something about Wes Anderson that's important to me, is when people take themselves too seriously, I lose my ever loving shit on them. He is
Yeah.
not one of those directors. He
He's not.
understands he's going to be joked on, and he totally leans into it, and he's cool with it. To film nerds that place so much of like a person in the work, and oh, this is a Wes Anderson film, you know. When you have that much going on in a film, and you have so much prominence put on the director or put on the actors on the screen, there is the well, if the person's a Ponzi fool, I don't want to watch their shit, even if it's good. Even if their
Yeah.
work is good, if they're a dick about their critics, I don't want to watch it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
annoyed because I'm thinking about how dumb you are the whole time when I'm watching this film. Wes leans into it, and I can watch his stuff because he's not a dick about it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a book, it was an Instagram account, then it became a book, called Absolutely Wes Anderson or something, and it was people taking pictures of like churches in the Alps and things that look Wes Anderson-y. And he, when they turned the Instagram into like a picture book, he wrote the foreword, and the foreword is like,
Right.
as the world's premiere Wes Anderson, I think that this is the most Wes Anderson book that they're like. It was so funny, and he wrote it for this guy. It was, I'll find the account for you, but it's hilarious. But he does have a good sense of that. He seems
And
like
that
a really
matters.
cool guy. Yeah.
Yes. That
Oh,
really matters
accidentally
because
Wes Anderson. That's what's.
because there are directors that are so just high on their own farts that they're
Yeah.
not fun to watch, but they're very good at what they do. They're very good at writing, or they're very good at directing, but they're an absolute prick to work with. Or they or you're okay, perfect example. You and I know that Gene Hackman had some kind of a creative clashing with Wes. I'm not going to say there weren't times when I'm like, was he in a bad mood? Did him and Wes just like because I know this, like you said, I'm not in theaters watching it. I can pause it, get out my phone, get out my laptop, look up something, go down a rabbit hole, and then hit play. And I'm so removed from it already. I'm more thinking about, well, did Gene Hackman have a bad day? Was this when this happened? Was this when Wes told him to do that? Instead of just enjoying what I'm seeing. So in the theater is the way that I actually see movies that I want to take seriously. And I've told my wife that is when I want to take a movie seriously, I go see it with Mike, or I go see it in theaters. I'm not going to try to watch it at my house because I have no ability to sit still to begin with. So I sure as hell ain't going to be able to sit down in my house for that long. Static.
Well, that's another big benefit to me watching in theaters, is that I can see it in a straight shot. I have been watching the movie Game Night, for like 6 or 7 days now, because I have like the energy for 10 minutes before bed. And I told Sarah, I said, this movie's going to be good in a month when I'm finished with it. Because I'm watching it like it's a web series, one a night for,
right. It's 15, 20 minutes, you watch a scene, and then, bedtime. I really think that do yours first, because I want to hit on the ones I put in the notes, because to me this is a big deal.
Yeah, the big deal, the big hot take that I think that I have, honestly, is that this movie is really hard to assess in his without having going back and fully watching everything else, because it's hard for me as being aware of Wes Anderson to remember where these things are starting here and where
Okay.
they're already established, and like to realize like what level is it almost parody of itself, because it becomes that later on, like it's so hyper version of all those like
Yeah.
quirks. And so that's my hot take, is that like it is difficult to watch this without the context of the oeuvre because of the influence of it.
Like, again,
Because
you're
there's
aware
so
of it
much
now.
clear, right? I'm aware of it, but I'm also like, it's hard to distinguish between parody and genuine. Like I just sent you the clip of Wes Anderson's X-Men, which was a
Yeah.
video someone made, and there was a Wes Anderson Saturday Night Live where I think it was Edward Norton plays Owen Wilson, and it's like a Wes Anderson horror movie for Halloween,
Oh
and he's like,
no.
"There's a killer," and he's like doing a dead-on Owen
There's
Wilson, like, and
right.
so
There's a
and
killer.
so it's like very difficult to distinguish those things.
Yeah.
And so my hot take is that like I think it suffers from from the societal general knowledge without me having more specific knowledge,
Okay.
more specific memory of the other movies.
Okay.
You know,
I believe that Wes Anderson films are everything from Royal Tenenbaums on. They are formulaic caricatures of themselves, but not in a way that distracts from the content. So it is not a film made so specifically to a style that the substance falls flat around it. Like, you're not watching it thinking, perfect example, there are well composed dishes that are two Escoffier recipes. He is the absolute father of modern cuisine. And some of his shit's just boring. But
yeah,
food nerds and cooks can taste and see this and say, I can appreciate that you made this absolutely dead on to recipe, but you made fish with mayonnaise sauce. It's not exciting. The flavors make sense. Yeah, of course they do. It's acid, it's fat, it's citrus. Like, duh. Wes Anderson films from this one on are so to a style, whereas like he makes a diorama, he makes a visual, and then places all the actors in there, and then presses play, and they act, and they do the
right.
thing, and then he calls scene. It is
So
so formulaic, but it doesn't take away from the substance of the films and the interactions with the characters that all they don't want to handle emotions. All of them don't want to touch the emotions they're feeling, and everybody's just, instead of angry bottled up, they're Catholics. They've bottled all of their strife, anger, and sadness, and just pushed it down, and they don't want to deal with it.
this movie is definitely where I don't know that he's an auteur as he's making this movie, but this movie makes him an auteur. And that is kind of that moment of like because of this movie he gets complete control, and it is a complete Wes Anderson movie. Afterwards, like everything
Yeah.
is, like before that, there is that thing that almost every filmmaker has to deal with at the beginning of their career, which is, I need people to believe in me and do this, and I have to make some compromises, and I have to work with people who knew better
The
than
first
me on certain
Godfather.
things. Yeah. I mean,
First Godfather,
like
perfect
he had to
example of
prove
that we both.
himself.
Yep.
He had to prove himself, and he was like constantly in fear. And then after that, I think he
Yeah.
got a much more blank check for Godfather 2, and Apocalypse Now is where he becomes like where he like it goes over the top because he's got too
Yeah.
much freedom and too much
Yes.
ability to do it. And so like that is a thing that happens if you become successful, especially if you become hyper successful, is that you get, you fall into this like, oh, like I'm making my third of 7 Avatar movies, that I'm in the Avatar making business. I don't like Avatar.
As a big science fiction fan, I don't either, and that's annoying because the lore is so fantastic. and it falls flat in its fleshing out phase. That's how I feel about Avatar, and I unfortunately feel the same way about like Isaac Asimov. Like any of his
Yeah.
books that are interpreted into film, they
Mhm.
never hit enough of the things I want to see. And I'm thinking, this could have been so much better. I'm not watching a Wes Anderson film and the fact that he's directing a diorama
Yeah.
and something comes in bottom frame and then is flipped around 180 perfectly and then slid to
Yep.
top frame, and then something comes in from the side, or it's a static shot with a door closing that's on a train. Like there's so many.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I
take
will
away from the substance.
I will say that one of the Wes Anderson isms there's been lots of movies where I've said to Sarah, like, this feels like someone's trying to be Wes Anderson. Like, lots of that. The one movie that I think I would hold, it's become kind of a cliche to say this, but is the Paddington movies are,
Okay.
in a lot of ways, they seem heavily influenced by Wes Anderson, and they are masterpieces.
Okay.
Do you not, which part are you wondering what I'm meaning? How they're influenced or
So
how they're masterpieces?
no, the masterpieces make sense to me because I watched Paddington as a child. It was something that my
Okay.
British granny like had. Just Tintin, same thing. I read Tintin as a kid and I love Tintin.
Okay.
And a
I
lot of the
mean the
stuff that
three
Hergé
new
does.
Paddington movies. The three new
So you're
Paddington
talking
movies that came out in the
about
last decade. Paddington,
Paddington in
Paddington 2,
Peru.
and Paddington in Peru.
Okay.
Paddington in Peru, I have to rewatch because I've only seen it once. It came out last year, and it's a different director. But the first two movies are the same director that did the new Wonka movie. But this is why it's like it feels Wes Anderson-y to me. Is there are it is the we cut to the house a bunch of times being like a dollhouse where we see the actors and then it
Okay.
cuts and we pull out and we zoom down a couple floors and you're seeing the house. I'll see if I can find a clip of it.
Okay. In
But
that
it's
case, even Stuart Little feels like that to me.
okay. I have not seen Stuart Little maybe ever. Um, but but it, and some again, this to me, this is what Tarantino does. Is Tarantino takes somebody else's thing and makes it in a way that I like better. I think that the Paddington movies they don't feel like a knockoff or a ripoff. They feel like they took this touch and they just
I can understand what you're saying about the
um
Paddington stuff. Is it like the way it's filmed?
yeah,
I the specific scene where you're like
right,
they
right.
in a floor, they pull out, they go down, they push in. There was that specific stuff that happened in the
Mm-hmm.
Royal Tenenbaums. There was. So yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. It doesn't feel, it's not done so heavily that it feels like he's just ripping it off. It feels like he's like, well, that works, and also I'm telling a children's story, and it really really works with the style. There's other parts where it's like a pop-up book,
Okay.
and and those things feel Wes Anderson-y to me. And Wes Anderson
They
obviously does
are.
them. This is not a movie that's for kids. Like the Royal Tenenbaums has a fair amount of sex stuff and
Yeah.
in it, whereas it's just like that's anyway, that's my hot take. All right, let's
So your hot take is Paddington. The Paddington movies done by Paul King are specific
no,
stylistic homages.
no, my hot take is that like it's hard to separate this movie from the Wes Anderson legacy. Like it's hard to like know where it
Okay.
like comes, and that legacy is the Paul King movies, and it is all the knockoffs and the parodies, and like it's hard. I have too much other information to
Okay.
completely
Like you're
you,
not
you
able
know
to go in. You're not able to go in raw because you know too
right,
much. Okay.
right,
I'm
yeah,
I'm going to 100% align with that. You are not able to go into a Wes Anderson film, even one made tomorrow, even one made 24 years ago, like this, and
Yeah.
not be aware of some of the things you're about to see,
Yeah.
and that distracts from the film. So
Yeah.
yes, it was sort of difficult to watch it, but I can watch it again and still appreciate some of the scenes
Yeah.
and want to see those scenes again because I want to see those actors have that interaction with each other or with the environment.
Do you recommend this film?
Yes. Yep. I
I
have
do.
no
I
problem
do too.
recommending this.
Yeah, I think I would recommend it to anybody who is going to sit there and watch it. Meaning, if you're the
There.
kind of person who's going to flick it after 5 minutes, you're not gonna like you're gonna be tempted to like go watch something else potentially because I am that kind of person who has to be very deliberate. But if you are going to just say I'm going to sit down and watch this movie, you will enjoy it. I think I think you will enjoy it. You just have to get past that little bit of a hump,
Yeah,
especially with today's movie expectations of like I want to be right in on the action from the start to the finish, that you need, given our current way of consuming.
okay. No, agreed. This Wes Anderson's films were made in a time where people weren't spoiled for choice. Streaming services weren't
Yeah.
what was available. So
Yeah.
I agree with Mike. If you're going to want to experience this film the way Wes intended, but also the way that you get the most out of it, you need to just put down your phone, put it on silent, flip it screen down, and just genuinely watch it. Just genuinely watch this dysfunctional family try to function.
Ratings. Okay. All right. So you start because you always go first.
So for me, the fun and watchability is a 7 out of 10. This movie is fun to watch if you watch it, if you experience it as a cover to cover book, and kind of Wes Anderson movies kind of are like a book. And then
Yeah.
for quality, given the 2001-ness of it, given that Wes Anderson films, even modern ones, don't have very technical or effects based, they're not intended to. I feel that for quality, it's a 7 because there's nothing wrong with it. It is well above average, but it is not a film that I'm going to pick apart a lot because, in
Mhm.
honesty, there's not a whole lot to pick apart. It's just
I
it is film. It is film. Like I don't know.
I think there's more deliberateness in the cinematography than
Yeah,
say Chocolat. And so for me uh there is a level to which I'm like, yeah, this movie has some of that. It doesn't have on the quality side as much of the like I don't think the acting is as solid
no,
as Chocolat. It's
no,
uneven, and I think that that's partly a young filmmaker finding his voice and finding his style, and um, in some ways, it's like what did he get rid of after this movie was the good act, like, but
somewhat.
it's stylistically it's for a different thing.
Yeah,
So I gave, we both went sevens across the board. So
we did, and
7 and 7.
which makes the total score 14. And
Yeah.
for us, really for me, the only way this could have a higher quality score is if you took Wes Anderson out of it, and now it's no longer a film. So could a better director make a better film about a family that has a dad faking cancer? Sure, but I don't want to see it. So the 7 is
Right.
more about it's the capsule that this is living in, and not as much it couldn't be done better.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
also,
I just want to say also that I totally spaced on this. Some of the jokes were amazing in this.
oh
With when it
yeah,
came to the medical stuff, with like yeah, we give him all the ass cancer medicine or whatever they said, like
yes,
and like and he's like, that's not how you refer to that, basically. And like, and the fact that the guy that's pretending to be the doctor is pretending to be the doctor the whole movie. Like later on, when they're like,
He owes me a favor.
the gig's already up, and he's like talking to somebody on the street, and he's like, I think you have whatever, and he's like, you know. You need to get this checked, you know, and he's giving a medical advice to some rando, to
some
Eli
rando,
or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And you're like,
there's some meta
like,
jokes.
we all know you're not a doctor. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I like
there
that
are
a
some
lot.
meta
Sorry.
jokes, and I enjoyed that. No, there's some meta jokes. I enjoyed them. There's not some slapstick, but there is some physical comedy. Like, I think Royal calling Henry Sherman his wife's new lover, all of those like black epitaphs. Like, yes, that is humorous to me because everything about Danny Glover's character doesn't seem like he fits any of them. So Royal digging into his boomer pocket and being like, I'm going to call you New Jack. Like, it doesn't fit, dude. He's in a suit. Like he is a respected lawyer or a CPA.
But also,
he is not, he is not a gangbanger. And then,
but he's also like so much superior. He's so superior to Royal in like almost every single way. And that's kind of that. I don't know if you've ever seen, it's one of my favorite memes of all time. It's Steve Bannon next to Idris Elba, and it says, white supremacy has convinced this man that he is genetically superior to this man. You have the most gorgeous man on earth, basically, and you have Steve Bannon, and it's like, just because he thinks he's white, or just because he's white, he thinks he's better. And it's like, you know, and this was kind of one of those situations of like, Danny Glover as the character. What's the character's name again?
It is Henry Sherman.
Henry Sherman is just in every single way superior to Royal.
Yes. Yep.
Except for maybe funniness. And so for him to like disparage is like, oh yeah, you're ignorant and dumb. Like you're not much different than Eli you know, is in that way.
Okay,
like
very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
All right. So let's
trailer.
Right, so before we move on, now that we have the scores, let's talk about let's wrap up this month's scores, because we, you know, at the end of the month, we did it last month, right? And we had, in some ways, I think we had a better month, but we did a steady decline throughout the month than we did last.
That is true. Month. That is true.
So Milk is number one for us. It was the first movie of the week, first movie of the month. Also, I should say, this movie didn't fit as much of a, like we did Horror October. We broke this into a few different things because we had
food and family.
Election Day, so we did food and family and politics.
And politics, yeah.
Because of that. So it didn't have as much of a through line throughout as this does.
Not the same way,
or as October did.
But it fits because
I think it flowed well.
There are going to be audience members who are going to recall conversations they had over their holiday meal, and then listen to this episode or watch it and be like, "Oh yeah, no, that totally is how that went. Oh shit, yep, absolutely."
Yep. So to wrap the month up, was 2. Milk was 17 score. Ratatouille was 16.5. Chocolat was 14.5, and Royal Tenenbaums was 14. So that's pretty good month. We had nothing below a 7 all month long on all the wavelengths.
That is true. We didn't have a Rosemary's Baby.
Right. But even with Hard Eyes, we gave it a 6 and a 5 on quality, right? So like those weren't that great. And Rosemary's Baby was, you know, so we haven't had anything that's been truly awful, but we have had some scores that are like, you wouldn't want that on your movie. And so I think that this is a good month. We had like a lot of good movies. Now, let's get to the trailer part. All right. Going into next week, we're going to start Christmas month off with Muppet Christmas Carol. Which
Yes.
if I've ever seen it, I was a little kid. That's going to be the case with all but one of next month's movies. So we're going to start with Muppet Christmas Carol. Then we're going to go to A Christmas Story, which I think you are in the same boat as me. We watched it as kids and have never seen it since.
Nope.
And that one's considered these are considered classics, these two, and we just don't remember. I remember disliking A Christmas Story as a kid, so that'll be an interesting to see how that comes out. Then we go into Violent Night, which is a Christmas horror movie because we didn't think we could do a full month of straight Christmas, sweetness without it killing us a little.
I would get bored. Yeah, I would get bored.
And then we're gonna wrap up Christmas with the Grinches. We're gonna watch all three Grinches and we're gonna compare and contrast them and see how they come out. And then technically it's in December. We're gonna do for New Year's. We're gonna do Tick Tick Boom. So
I'm excited
that'll
about
be
that.
A fun month. I saw Tick Tick Boom on Broadway or off Broadway like 20 years when I think it was when I was 18, so 23 years ago. But
Okay.
yeah. So this other than the Jim Carrey Grinch, I am not very familiar with any of these movies coming up. So I'm excited.
I think I don't know. Nah, I was about to say Violent Night is fantastic, slapsticky fun. Christmas Story, we'll get to me in that film. And then Muppet Christmas Carol, I watch it every year just like I do Charlie Brown. So for me, even though I have very little sentiment in my life, these are some of the things that I hold on.
Good. All right. So if you liked this episode and you want to watch along with us, we're constantly letting you know what's coming up. I'll make something this week to put up on Instagram, and I'll share it here on YouTube as well, or I'll share it wherever because we're also on Spotify. But if you want to just give us a like and a subscribe, and you can continue to follow along with us, comment, what you think about the movie we're talking about. Let us know if we're wrong. Let us know if one of the comparisons is wrong, because we had some good engagement on The Godfather, comments from last week when we were talking about that. Some hot takes.
Hot takes.
And so let us know about that. I'm going to pitch my book because it's it's already out. The Dinner Party by Michael Christopher Cole. It's a novel. It's getting really rave reviews, and then it is getting really wild reactions from my friends and family.
True.
It's been a wild ride, and I think you should check it out. And I feel like I think tonally it probably fits best with Royal Tenenbaums. So what a week to.
I will entirely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will.
Alex is reading it right now, so.
I am, and I paid for it out of my own pocket. I did not get an advanced reader copy.
Well, you got access, but you just didn't choose to use it.
Yeah, fair, correct. Because I wanted to walk in and not color any of this because I have enough respect of you as a writer and as a filmmaker to if it stinks, I'm going to tell you. And if it's good, I'm going to tell you. And in fact, folks, I've already sent pictures when I was reading it on the plane, pointing at certain sections. I'm like, you're a brave motherfucker. I would never write this. I would never put this in text and then show it to my parents. Yeah, you and I have a different childhood for sure.